Welcome back. We are in chapter 2, starting chapter 2 today, which is titled The Separation and the Atonement. And this is section 1 of chapter 2, which is titled The Origins of Separation. This one was a really big one for me the first time I read A Course in Miracles. Anyway, I'll just start and you can see if it is as meaningful to you as it was to me. Paragraph 1. To extend is a fundamental aspect of God which he gave to his Son. In the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. I just love that. God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will, capital W, to create. Listen to this. You have not only been fully created, but have also been created perfect. You know I'm going to read that one more time. You have not only been fully created, but have also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in you. Because of your likeness to your Creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is. But he can use it inappropriately by projecting. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. This process involves the following steps. And I just want to pause here really quick. That have you noticed this theme that all the issues we have stem from us believing that we are somehow lacking, that we aren't perfect and whole. All the fear, all the illusions, all the everything we have comes from believing that we are lacking. And then all of the gymnastics we go through trying to make up for what we think we lack, when really we're not lacking anything. So if we could just embrace that idea and believe it, all of these issues would just go away. I don't know. And this is why I think it said in one of the previous sections that when you finally do get into the correct orientation, like you're not thinking, it calls it upside down thinking. When you finally write the upside down thinking, it feels unstable at first because it is so against our nature to believe that we are perfect. It's so hard for us. Probably because we do things and we see that, they make other people unhappy and things like that. Anyway, it all comes because we believe some emptiness or lack exists in us. And that we can fill it with our own ideas instead of truth. So, this process of filling our perceived lack with our own ideas, it involves the following steps. First, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. I've said this a lot, right? Like you think you can change what God created, and you're not that powerful. So, first, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Third, and I think this one is very similar to the very first one. Third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. And fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. So that's how we try to fill our perceived lack and emptiness with our own ideas. Paragraph 2. These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in the separation, or the, quote, detour into fear, close quote. None of this existed before the separation, nor does it actually exist now. Everything God created is like him. Everything God created is like him. Extension, as undertaken by God, is similar to the inner radiance that the children of the Father inherit from him. And I don't know about other faith traditions, but in my faith, they teach us that everyone is born, every child comes into this world with the light of Christ. So that's what this made me think of when it said extension, as undertaken by God, is similar to the inner radiance that the children of the Father inherit from him. Its real source is internal. This is as true of the Son as of the Father. In this sense, the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and the Son's creations when his mind is healed. So we talk about the creation, right? God created the earth and everything that was on it and the heavens and all the things, right? In this sense, the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and the Son's creations when his mind is healed. This requires God's endowment of the Son with free will, because all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line in which all aspects are of the same order. Here's how I understand this. That when we talk about the creation, which, like I said, a lot of we associate with the creation of the earth and the heavens and all living things and all that. This is saying that we also create the same way God created us. So in the very first paragraph, it says, in the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. We all have this will inside of us, this desire to create the same way we were created. And it says that God gave us free will because all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line in which all aspects are of the same order. So when our mind is healed, like I said earlier, the creation includes both the creation of us by God and our creations when our minds are healed. So right now, while our minds are not healed, we're not creating, we're making. We can make things, and you'll notice the difference in A Course in Miracles. It's very clear when it's talking about creating from a healed place and you're creating like God, or when you're making things that are illusions. It uses the word make. It does not use create. You cannot create illusions. Creation is eternal. So when something is created, it can never be undone or changed. But you can make things with a distorted mind that are illusions, and those are not real. Technically, they don't exist. But because we made them and we're that powerful, we believe in what we made, even if it technically isn't real. So I just think this is beautiful. It shows, and this actually aligns with what I was taught in my faith, that someday we will be like God. It's just we believe that it's like you earn that right, by being obedient here and following the commandments and whatever, that someday we will be like him. This is saying we're already like him. He made us like him, and nothing can change that. And so when our mind is healed, we will be creating, by extension, just extending from our perfection, we will create more perfection. And that is what it means by all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line in which all aspects are of the same order. So it's all perfection. That's not like, oh, God created perfection. It's not like the telephone game, right? Where like you whisper a phrase to someone and they whisper it to the next person, they whisper it to the next person. By the time it gets to the end, it's totally garbled and is not the original phrase. That's not how this works. God is perfect and extends himself to make us perfect creations. And then we extend ourselves and make more perfection. And they extend themselves and make more perfection. So it's just this one continuous line of perfection when your mind is healed. All right, paragraph 3. The Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition, was a state of mind in which nothing was needed. When Adam listened to the, quote, lies of the serpent, close quote, all he heard was untruth. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. All that can literally disappear in the twinkling of an eye because it is merely a misperception. So, in the Garden of Eden, this was the pre-separation when nothing was lacking. And basically, all that happened that cast us out of the Garden of Eden is we began to believe that we had lack. It's not that we were actually cast out of a place and we then were lacking. We didn't have enough food. We didn't have enough, we had to go work by the sweat of our brow and things like that. None of that was actually true. We believed it was true, and so we made it true for us. But technically, we have never been lacking. We never left the Garden of Eden, but we began to perceive our surroundings as lacking because we perceived ourselves as lacking. And projection, which is the opposite of extension, instead of extending our perfection to create more perfection, we began to project our own perception of lack within us. We project that to our environment and begin to see lack around us as well. I hope this is making sense. What is seen in dreams seems to be very real. Yet the Bible says that a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is there reference to his waking up. A deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is there reference to his waking up. This was mind-blowing to me. When I first read A Course in Miracles, I thought, oh my gosh! What? The world has not yet experienced any comprehensive reawakening or rebirth. Such a rebirth is impossible as long as you continue to project or miscreate. It still remains within you, however, to extend as God extended his spirit to you. In reality, this is your only choice because your free will was given you for your joy in creating the perfect. That's why your free will was given to you, was so you could create perfection, just like God created you. Paragraph 4. All fear is ultimately reducible to the basic misperception that you have the ability to usurp the power of God. All fear, everything we fear, basically boils down to the misperception that you can usurp the power of God, that you are somehow more powerful than him and can change what he has made. Of course, you neither can nor have been able to do this. Here is the real basis for your escape from fear. The escape is brought about by your acceptance of the atonement. And remember that the atonement is the undoing, which enables you to realize that your errors never really occurred. The escape is brought about by your acceptance of the atonement, which enables you to realize that your errors never really occurred. Only after the deep sleep fell upon Adam could he experience nightmares. So think about this. And some of you probably have thought about this because I've heard this other places about how life is kind of a dream. And that's basically, I believe, what A Course in Miracles is saying here. We're basically in a dream state, a spiritual dream state. And I don't know about you guys, but I have this dream every once in a while where I am naked in public. And I'll just be like walking around in my dream, and all of a sudden I realize, oh my gosh, I'm naked and there's people all around and nobody seems to be noticing for whatever reason. And so I'm like in my mind, trying to act casual, not draw attention to myself, and like, okay, how can I get somewhere private, or how can I cover myself up or whatever. So imagine, and of course, I would never choose to walk in public naked. That would never in my waking life never would even occur to me, right? Like, I have no desire to do that. So it's kind of like if I had that dream that I was walking in public naked and I woke up and I marched myself down to the police station and said, "You need to arrest me for indecent exposure in public." And they'd be like, "Oh, where and when was this?" And I'd be like, "Well, it was in my dream last night." And what do you think they would say? They'd be like, well, then it didn't really happen. That was a dream. It didn't, nobody, it didn't happen in real life. And that is what this is saying, that your acceptance of the atonement or the undoing enables you to realize that your errors never really occurred. Like, we'll get to the next life and, be all ashamed of all the things that we've done. And God will basically say, well, it didn't actually happen. That was a dream. That was a nightmare. Adam couldn't experience nightmares until after that deep sleep fell upon him. And in my faith growing up, we were taught that yes, we have this veil put across our memories so that we can come here, and this life is a test. This life is a test to see if we will behave correctly, keep the commandments, follow what we're told without, on faith, without remembering all the things. And A Course in Miracles is saying this isn't a test. And I don't recall if it says, I don't remember every single word I've read in this book, so it'll be interesting as we go through. I don't recall if it says why we're here, but my understanding is that we are here to gain experience. We are here to learn and to grow and to experience things that we would never have the opportunity to, like street smarts versus book smarts. I'm sure we could study up, what it would be like in a place like this while we're in heaven, but you don't really know it until you experience it, right? So I get the impression that's why we come here. But we're not going to get to the other side and then God is going to say, oh, while you were sleeping in your dream, you were walking around naked, you were cheating on your spouse, you were, like just doing horrible things, and now we're going to punish you for those things. It was all a dream. So we're going to get back there and be like, whoo, oh, some parts of that were a real nightmare, and I'm so glad that wasn't real, right? Like when you wake up from a nightmare and you are so grateful that that wasn't real. I'm so glad that was just a dream. And it still kind of shook you up, right? Some dreams shake you up because they feel so real. But once you're awake and you realize it was a dream, it's just that relief of, oh, God, that was just a dream. Thank heavens. And so that's what this is saying. Going on, it says, if a light is suddenly turned on while someone is dreaming a fearful dream, he may initially interpret the light itself as part of his dream and be afraid of it. So he might fear the light. However, when he awakens, the light is correctly perceived as the release from the dream, which is then no longer accorded reality. We realize, oh, that was a dream and it's not real. This release does not depend on illusions. The knowledge that illuminates not only sets you free, but also shows you clearly that you are free. Technically, you don't need to be set free because nothing can actually imprison you. So it'll set you free by your perception, you'll perceive that you've been set free. And then once you're fully awake, you'll go, oh, I was never really imprisoned. There was nothing to set me free from. I've always been free. So, paragraph 5. Whatever lies you may believe are of no concern to the miracle, which can heal any of them with equal ease. It makes no distinctions among misperceptions. Its sole concern is to distinguish between truth on the one hand and error on the other. Some miracles may seem to be of greater magnitude than others, but remember the first principle in this course: there is no order of difficulty in miracles. In reality, you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love. So remember, it said that just like darkness is lack of light, sin is lack of love. So you are perfectly unaffected by all expressions of lack of love, or all kinds of sin. You are perfectly unaffected because this is all a dream. It's not actually happening to you. So it may feel like people are hurting you, but technically, in reality, you are completely unaffected by anything that other people do to you. These can be from yourself and others. So these expressions of lack of love, these can be from yourself and others, from yourself to others, or from others to you. So you're completely unaffected by any of those things. Peace is an attribute in you. You cannot find it outside. Illness is some form of external searching. Health is inner peace. It enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without and capable, through your acceptance of miracles, of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others. It's kind of a long sentence, so I'm just going to break it down. So I believe it's referring to peace when it says it. So it enables you, peace enables you to remain unshaken by lack of love from without. So other people might be doing mean things to you, hurtful things to you, and that inner peace will make it so you're completely unaffected by what they choose to do or say or whatever. And capable, through your acceptance of miracles, of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others. So I think the perfect example of this is an abusive home, right? So you may grow up as a child with both of your parents are abusive, and so like your home life, the place you spend the most time is abusive. So it's creating this abusive condition, this abusive home. These are the conditions you're growing up in, and it's coming because of lack of love from others. And this is saying that you will be capable, when you have that inner peace, you will be capable, through your acceptance of miracles, of correcting the conditions proceeding from lack of love in others. You can actually correct those conditions. And I'm not saying like we should expect little children to correct their abusive homes, but just as that example, right? How empowering is that? And I know for me, it didn't feel entirely true. Like, wait, I do feel like people can hurt me. I do feel like I'm affected when people, treat me with lack of love. But having read through this entire book, I can say that it has strengthened, and I'm not perfect at it, and I have not arrived by any means, but it has strengthened my ability to maintain my inner peace regardless of my surroundings. And like I said, I'm still working on it, but I'm becoming more aware, and it is incredibly empowering to be able to take that power back and to say, technically, nothing anyone else does can hurt me. It's only if I choose, right? And that was earlier in the section. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. And since their lack of love technically isn't real, do you remember in the section 6 of chapter 1? Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. only perfect love exists. And it's going to talk more about that later. And I'm super excited for that day. So I hope you stick with me so we can get to that place because it is so good. It is so good. And that is the end of chapter 2, section 1. So please comment about what stood out to you most, or if there was something you had questions about, didn't understand, or if you have your own insight that you would like to share. And we'll see you next time.